So you have your own, you built your own cabin, is that right?
Yeah, this is the ranch here. I'll show you around a little bit. You
Okay.
see the mountains off in the distance?
Yes.
I got my little puppy Steely here.
Oh,
how
But
cute.
yeah, this is the ranch, and this is Red Mesa, Colorado, and this is all red winter wheat here.
Okay.
And it's yeah, it's here from it's indigenous to Mesopotamia. It's the same wheat from Mesopotamia, the same genetics out here, and it's the same type of wheat that the Native Americans use to make their breads and get their carbohydrates and stuff. So that's what you see in the background.
Yeah, that's really neat.
But I'm not familiar with that space in Colorado, which surprises me. But what direction is that?
We're right outside of Durango, Southwest Colorado.
Okay.
I'm just 5 miles to the New Mexico border. So Red Mesa is right before New Mexico.
Nice.
So,
very cool.
It's the only place in the U.S. where the masculine features of the peaks meet the feminine features of the table mesa. It's the only place in the U.S. So it's a real spiritual place, special place.
That's so neat. That's
awesome. Yeah.
Good.
But I just wanted to say thank you to Sweetie PieLo fans, and I just had so much love and uplifting comments and such friendly folks from you guys' team and your community, and it's just lifted up my spirit so much. So I just want to thank you.
Oh, well, I'm so happy because it's bothered me a lot, the scrutiny that you've been under just for finding that gun, which potentially could be the missing link for all we know. At least in some case, if not Suzanne's, maybe some case out there.
Yeah, the way it was sticking, it was like there was a light shining down on it. I mean, I was happened to just be walking down the road and it caught out of the corner of my eye, and it hit me like a lightning bolt, because when I saw it, it registered like that's a gun. And I mean, right now, look, I got goosebumps.
Yes. It is a trip. It is.
Yeah, the way it was revealed to me, by the creator, I feel like it was meant to be. I found a few pieces of evidence in nature in my day, and the way that it was just like showing itself in the sunlight, like it was like, find me, please. It wanted to be found. So,
right. I know. That's the impression I got too, because I was looking at the different bushes around the area, and it was like that bush and maybe one other that looked really dead revealed for all to see that gun, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No,
and
you're
right
so
at the
right.
edge of that big open area too. Like,
yes.
I mean, right off, it was like someone had done something and was driving down the dead end road and literally just slung the gun out the window as hard as I could. It was about 15 feet off the road. And man, it just blows me away because, given the tarnish on the gun, even the law enforcement there said it seems about 2 to 4 years, because it was like a nickel plated stainless steel gun. Okay. And the way that nickel tarnishes, the nickel plated guns are a little bit higher end. Yes. And so the undersheriff came out, and the undersheriff himself came out, and 2 other deputies, and he very carefully picked it up with some tweezers and held it up, and it was stuck down in the mud. And I'm just going off what he said. He said it's an Italian made 22 caliber revolver. And at the time, I didn't think it meant that much, and then it started coming out about the live 22 round next to Suzanne's bed. And I mean, the hair just stood up on my neck thinking, oh my God, what are the chances?
In the case, which they actually described as a rifle case underneath the bed, but who knows what was actually stored in there, right? So,
right. And those, those 22 rounds, they can be used in rifles or pistols. So
yeah.
No, and my thinking is, it might not be the actual weapon that was used in the crime, but what if that weapon might have belonged to Suzanne, and she was fumbling trying to defend herself with it, and things went bad. Sorry about the wind. I'm trying to stay out of the wind. And then he could have taken it and then disposed of it like that, just to get rid of the evidence. But the thing I'm going for is not necessarily it being the actual weapon that was used, but this could be a direct connection, link, tie from Moffett to the house in Salida.
Yeah,
right. So these items are out there, That's the connection. And then who else could possibly be to make that connection? If we could connect the house and Moffett together, you know, and I'm just praying that there was rounds, you know, that the sheriff was very standoffish, but I could tell by body language between him and his deputies, like this was a huge deal. And the piece of the bed sheet, like when they were holding it up and taking pictures of it, and I mean, all their eyebrows were raised up and the glances they were giving each other.
Yeah.
And you know, and I just wanted to say I'm dealing with a little bit of stuff, so I can't go into some details, but we did find some other stuff. But I want to let y'all know it is private property out there. So just warning, like the people that want to go out there and check it out, just be real careful because they're starting to crack down on people going out there and walking around and stuff. So I just want to warn anybody. So
is that kind of the hard time you're facing right now? Is that you were on private property or?
Yeah, a little bit. I'll just say that they weren't too happy about that. And I thought because it was right next to state trust land. So I thought it was state trust land.
Right.
And turns out it's actual private property, and it could belong to like that where Suzanne's remains were actually found might belong to a crazy guy that actually owns that camper there. And he's got a reputation around there. Not to get into it too much, but yeah, he's not a good dude. So who knows?
Yeah.
Freaky.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you being in the right place at the right time. That's for sure.
Me too.
Man, I just had a calling.
I had no clue that was private property either. Like that's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. But I mean, that's kind of the risk in doing this, right? It's like people have asked me like why I don't actually get like a PI's license and stuff or like anything else. And I'm like, because then I'm bound by certain rules. And like, that's a whole world more trouble that I'm willing to experience. So
exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, I just had a feeling like I needed to get to Moffett, like I had to get there, and I literally dropped all the work I was doing and loaded up the van and just hauled over there. And man, just the way everything played out, I just feel like it was meant to be. This is hopefully will bring closure to, if not, you know, the Suzanne case, maybe to some family or connect the link or something. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm telling you, I had such an overwhelming feeling. So Naomi right here, she sent me the video of you probably 2 or 3 nights ago. Yeah, she sent me that video. My job
it showed up
on the floor
randomly in my For You. Like it was just there. And so I'm one of those people, I'm always like, what I meant to see is always put before me, right? Kind of like you, like going out there and like the creator showed it to you. And that's my theory on life, and that's kind of what I live by. But I watched that I think it was like a 1.5-minute long video or something, and I was like, what? And so I went to your page and I started watching more videos, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Lauren, check this out.
Right.
It
like
was,
what are the chances?
It was stunning to me. And then I think what really blew my mind is that it hadn't circulated. Nobody had really heard of it.
Yeah,
I know. Like I was trying to get on, like trying to get the word out, and like in me doing that, like posting on people's pages, it was causing me to get banned and get called a fraud. You know, like it went into a dark place. So I just kind of like put my hands up and said, you know, I'm just going to let the universe unfold as it may. So.
Right. So I told Lauren, I was like, Lauren, you need to talk about this. Like, you need to put this out there.
She pushed me in a good way because I was considering it. And then I was like, I don't know if I should today or tomorrow. She's like, do it today. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it today. Yeah. And then I got up there and I did it because I felt it was so much on my heart to get this information out here. And I'm glad I did because we need to back you. I really feel that you did this for the right reasons. And I feel that what you did is going to lead to something, if not closure for Suzanne Morphew, something that involves her case, then for somebody else. But it's important.
Yeah. So I kind of took a little step last night that I normally don't actually take publicly. I usually keep really quiet publicly about my opinions and like arguing with people or like whatever. And I had seen something posted last night, and it really upset me.
Yeah,
And,
it was rude. It was rude about you.
So I personally don't feel like you're illegitimate. I don't feel like you have done any of this. Like I don't feel like you planted the gun. I don't feel like, anything like that. Of course, I leave space open. Like, there's a really good chance this doesn't have anything to do with Suzanne at all, right?
Right. There's always
but that
chance.
doesn't mean that you did anything improper. And I'm very much offended by that insinuation.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. We've just been volunteering out here, and I just have some good dogs. And my goal getting into this was to search for missing people. Years after the fact, after the cases have gone cold. That way it's not such a big deal with law enforcement because they don't like any competition.
No, they don't.
But I've actually had this channel for like a year and a half, and I've been doing this, for a long time. It seems like a lot longer, searching for missing persons. And I started finding all this evidence at these sites, like at the Daniel Robinson site. I found his eyeglass case that had come out of his vehicle that had rolled and had glass. And this was like a few thousand yards away from the crash scene. And it actually turned out to be, like a possible piece of evidence for that. So I started getting more into finding all this evidence, and it's like it was revealing itself. And I just want to let y'all know, I just go off the facts and the science and what the creator reveals to us. That's all I would never try to fabricate or mislead or inflate or anything like that.
No, I don't think that question about you at all. You don't.
No, I don't.
Or anything.
Look, so I've been in this for a little bit now, and Lauren knows, because Lauren and I talk almost every day, all day long. Lauren knows I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot happen, and I've been messed with in a lot of scary ways, and I've been, manipulated by a lot of people and seen outright lies and
schemers.
Schemers and scammers, and I don't get that vibe from you at all. I just don't. I feel like if you were that type of person, your channel would be a whole lot different.
Yeah.
And a lot more people would have known who you are.
Right. It seems like people gravitate to the real con artist.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's true. It's true.
It is true. It is true.
Well, I think where people kind of got rubbed the wrong way is because I didn't do a video of the actual law enforcement collecting the evidence. Well, let me tell you, the first thing the undersheriff did when he pulled up and said, "You don't have any video on me, do you?" And, I work with law enforcement. I've been a firefighter and search and rescue, and I respect those guys. So when they say, don't put a camera on me, I'm not going to say, oh, it's my, law, my legal right to do so, yada, yada, yada. I'm not trying to make problems with these guys. So, I mean, I even asked them several times, guys, can I take a picture of you? And they, while they're collecting the evidence, they said no. But I did took a couple pictures of their vehicles and stuff and put it on my community section, my page, just to show proof. But, I think that's why people are like, oh, he claims he found a gun, but there's no follow up. But I'm just trying to be respectful to the Saguache County Sheriff, because, they're a small department with limited resources. And, if the guy was the undersheriff was a really cool guy. And, he's a guy had a beard. He's like a mountain man. And the last thing I'm trying to do is ruffle any feathers or tee anybody off. And so I got to try to keep on good terms with these people so I can try to figure out what this evidence, or if it means anything. So
for sure.
But I'll be happy to prove anything on my page. Like if anyone has any concerns or anything, just let's air it out. My email's there. We can talk, and So.
Do you have any still photos that you took with your phone of the stuff that you found? Or is it all just video?
Yeah, I just did. So I was so frazzled because I was doing a live video, and then I was contacting law enforcement, and then I was trying to get my dogs loaded up, and then law enforcement was telling me it was, private property, and then there's an issue, and then so it turned into a really wild situation. And
I feel like I got a really good still off of your video where you can see the gun is buried.
Oh yeah, it's buried.
Probably 3/4 of the way on the handle. To me, it looked pretty obvious that it wasn't the earth wasn't disturbed, like it was, it had been there for a while, you know.
Exactly. And I mean, even the undersheriff said, wow, this has been here for a few years, and it's he didn't even tell me the brand of gun or anything. He didn't get into that, but he was very surprised it was there, and he was talking to his deputies like, did we miss this? Because I guess the sheriffs did a search and then CBI did a search. So,
but they didn't go that far down.
No, they never went down the road very far.
Right. So, and I mean, honestly, that makes sense, right? So you'd like them to spread out.
Yeah.
But in reality, they have a standard that they typically use, which is like so many yards, you know, around whatever the main evidence was that they found, right? And so I feel like that's pretty common. The other thing that was said last night was that, like, there is no way that law enforcement would have missed this. And it was like, okay, let's just like not even go there, because we've seen this too many times, like just in recent cases. Like, okay, can we talk about Kylie Rodney?
Right.
Like, how many times did like they dive that lake or put sonar on it or fly over it or any of that, and they totally missed her. And then when they flipped her car, they totally lost a bunch of evidence that was in her car. And that one private dude came and like got her laptop and like a whole bunch of personal possessions out of it, out of the lake. And everybody harassed him too and thought that he was just planting stuff and like being a twat. But like, no, you know. And then like, so the example that I gave online last night was Brian Laundrie, right? Like, cops missed him for weeks. Like, his parents had to go out there and find him. And then they still left evidence that was found by other YouTubers. You know what I mean? Like, they do this all the time, and it's really common, and it's unfortunate, but it's also understandable to some degree, right? There's some things that's not understandable, I think. And I kind of like scratch my head and I'm like, what were you thinking? But like, I'm also not like anti-law enforcement either. Like, I think I try really hard to be a very realistic person. Yeah. So I don't know.
You most definitely are. Yeah. The biggest argument I'm hearing is, well, law enforcement would have never missed that. And it's just like what Naomi just said is exactly correct. In every case we've followed recently, they miss something. They really do. And it's like a YouTuber that goes and finds it, like yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I have a whole channel of finding evidence that law enforcement missed. That's what my whole channel, if you look through, is about. So, I mean, the cause of a cold case, you know, that's what we do is come back years after the fact. And you wouldn't believe how much stuff is left in evidence scenes, you know, like for instance, that piece of that sheet, you know.
What color would you describe that sheet as, or that piece of material you found?
I mean, it was a whitish, maybe a lightish gray or a tan color. So in my videos, I challenge y'all to go back to segment 2 of my videos. It was when I tried to do a live, and it was like horrible footage. But before it got real glitchy and stuff, I walk up to that piece of a sheet and I say, what is that, a floral pattern? Because it was raining that day, and that blood was a lot brighter because it was wet. And it was splotchy, and it looked like little flower. It looked like, I was like, is that a woman's blouse? And you can see in my video when I first found that piece of that sheet, I'm like, that looks like a piece of a woman's blouse with like a floral pattern on it. And I didn't think anything about it. And then came back the next day when it was sunny and windy, and that piece that had spread out, and you could clearly see that it was splotchy blood, you know, on the sheet. And I'm just thinking, you know, how many people have been wrapped up and disposed of in bed sheets, you know? It's like
so true. And I believe Mallory Morphew, so the daughter of, you know, Barry and Suzanne, her bedding, her sheets were actually a light blue. Would you relate that color to being possibly a light blue?
You know, it could have been, because it's been out there for a few years, but that blood, I mean, the sun had baked it, and in the rain and the snow and dry, like, so all the color, it had faded out from the sun, but that blood never totally goes away. It just gets real light. I mean, you could still test, like, I guarantee you that sheet is easily testable for DNA. Like, they should have had a field day with that piece of a sheet, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and so if it was just because part of the sheets were missing off of Mallory's bed, as we understand it, according to the arrest affidavit. So if it was, they should be able to match it up to the other sheets that were there. Like, really,
I mean, the thread count, all that, you know, all they should be be an easy match.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
fingers
so
crossed.
let's just say Suzanne happened to be found, or part of her remains happened to be found, like with a bed sheet that matched that, right?
Oh,
that's like easy to match up.
For sure.
Like at that point. So
for sure.
And that's why I feel like CBI has been so standoff. Man, I've called the forensics unit. I've called the Suzanne Morphew tip line. I've been in touch, and the way they handle me, like at first they're like very staunch, and then when I tell them who I am, they get kind of loose and start laughing with me, and I'm like, I feel like there's something going on. Like there's something like, oh, you're that guy, you know, like, so I'm just praying that they're keeping it close to the vest for the new trial or the new case.
Which they would, if there was any, like, they wouldn't want the info to be released for sure.
I guarantee you right now, somebody's sweating. Somebody is sweating right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, whether that has to do with Suzanne or some other person we don't know about, like, props.
Right. Are we tight for time? I was going to just tell you all a couple more things.
No, we're not tight for time.
We can go as long as you want.
So some history about the Moffett area. There was a cult out there called the Love One Cult, and their ranch house is partially still there, and they actually found mummified human beings in their cult after the patriarch just died. So I talked to a girl at the coffee shop, with this real nice hippie girl, and she said that there's 30-something people missing from Crestone to Moffett to Saguache. Like 30-something people are missing. And so there's a guy called Crazy Carl. I don't know if you guys heard about Crazy Carl.
Oh, I haven't heard.
So Edna, that's who I was actually looking for out there in the boneyard, was the 55-year-old Edna. Okay. And she's been missing, and she was dating Crazy Carl, which he, like 4 or 5 women that he's dated have come up missing in this area. And he's gotten the moniker Crazy Carl, and they think that he's been, like disposing of them, so to speak.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. And Edna was who I was kind of out there looking for. You know, I wasn't out there looking for guns and evidence. That's not what we're doing. My dogs find, decomposing flesh in the woods. You know, animals, anything, humans. Yeah. So that's what we were out there for. And we actually did find a peculiar bone that could possibly be human, but can't really get into that. But it was collected as well. But so Crazy Carl, supposedly a guy that is responsible for a lot of the stuff in the boneyard. I guess he's missing right now. He disappeared. And anyway, it's a crazy story. But you got the Love One cult, and then you got, so listen to this. I will tell you this about the undersheriff. When he came out, I was asking him, like, what do you think about this boneyard? And he just kind of laughed it off and wouldn't make a comment. I said, well, what's the craziest thing you've ever investigated around here? And he said, he's investigated a cattle mutilation a couple years ago in the wintertime. And he said that it was a dead cow in the snow, no footprints, no nothing around it, totally drained of blood, all its lips and eyeballs and everything surgically removed. And the undersheriff's telling me this with a straight face, and he said it was the craziest thing he's ever dealt with in his whole life. And this was all right there. Yeah,
that's a UFO. I guarantee. Yeah.
And the UFO watchtower was just like 2 miles from Suzanne Morphew's remains, like right up the road. I mean, so there's a lot of crazy stuff in that valley.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, the San Luis Valley. So that's just a couple of, but I mean, it's not to say, what if the Suzanne's killer knew about this boneyard being a dumping ground and said, oh, this is a great place. Yeah. And what I think happened is, I think that's the secondary place where Suzanne ended up. I think first she was down in a waterway or the creek, because when I trained with our Adventures with Purpose, and we investigated the Suzanne Morphew a little bit, but it was wintertime. We couldn't really get in the rivers. But I think initially she could have been allegedly put down in the river.
Were you there in October of 2020?
Yes, with Adventures with Purpose. Yeah, I trained with them. There was a group of guys. I was with Jared Lysick, unfortunately. I don't like to talk about him. That guy,
originally, we sent you guys out to
to that water body. Yeah.
What is that?
The retention area?
Yeah. Well, so specifically the one that's over by Longhorn Ranch. by the fish hatchery.
Yep,
I can't
think of the name of this place right now. I've been so all over it for so long.
I can't remember either.
I just remember the law enforcement being so, you know, in Colorado, if you swim in like a water tributary that people drink, you know, water is like gold.
Yeah.
So it's a big federal crime to enter any waterways, you know, like any holding areas or anything like that. Okay. So, you know, we got in big trouble for being over there doing that.
So, and we were going to send you guys up to Turret, up by Turret, up to that big quarry pond up there.
Yeah.
And then we were trying to send you to the fish hatchery, and then the big and little retention ponds on either side of the Morphew houses or house. And then there was a couple other places, but but yeah, it happened to freeze over the night before, and you guys.
It was frozen. Remember that? I remember the sheriff being so sketch, like Barry was part of like a crime syndicate or like organized crime. Weird. Because he's like, watch over your shoulders, be careful. He's got people working with him. Like the sheriff was very adamant and like worried about our safety being over there. I just remember him acting so strange. I'm like, I mean, what is he dangerous? Like, what are you talking about? And he goes, you don't want to be caught here after hours. You don't want to be caught sneaking around if you see someone watching you. And then at one point he was like, look, see that vehicle right there? They're watching us right now. I mean, it's almost
wait, the actual sheriff or someone that was out with you guys?
The younger kind of Spanish looking sheriff of Salida. I think he was a sheriff. He was some law enforcement.
Okay.
I think I know who you're talking about. He's a deputy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, he was very adamant about watching over our shoulders and all this and that.
So he's the one that actually found the bike in the body cam footage.
Oh, that's Molinex then, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Molinex. Yeah.
I think that's who he's talking about. Okay. I'm not 100% sure, but that's interesting.
Yeah. It is. Naomi and I recently were reading over the Morphew lawsuit, and you would not believe, you know, William, how many missteps there were in this investigation for Barry Morphew / Suzanne Morphew's disappearance. It was insane. It almost seemed like he had people in the inside that purposely dropped the ball, because you wouldn't believe just how many things went south. So much that they had to dismiss the case without prejudice. But like there was DNA all over. There was DNA on the helmet, on the bike, on the stair, next to the bed. And now when I think about that, I go, obviously that must have been Barry, because if the DNA is on the bike, which would have meant she was away from the house on the bike, right? If she was abducted, but then DNA is also inside the house. That tells me that's got to be Barry, because he must have been wearing gloves, like Naomi believes. Like,
so I'm on the theory that Barry was used gloves.
Yeah, I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Or something. Or I mean, he could have help too, but
that bike was clearly just tossed from the road. I mean, planted. I mean,
that was the other spot there. It was on the brakes of the bike too. So it was the handlebars, the grips, the seat, and the brakes, right? And then the inside and outside of the helmet, the carpet next to the bed in Suzanne's bed in the house, a stair in the house, the glove box in the car, the cushion behind the driver's seat, and passenger and driver door handle on her Range Rover. So that's everywhere that they found that certain DNA profile, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
it's crazy. And you know, another.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, because before, I just want to be clear. Before, when I just knew that it was like on her car, I was like, well, that's easily explainable. And if you just do the genetic genealogy, you're probably going to come back to some maintenance guy at some tire or oil shop or something, right? And that's easy to say why he was there, why his DNA is in the car. But now you have it all these other places. So it's like, that's not easy to explain away.
No.
Like, that's somebody touching every integral part, right?
which would have been what Barry was touching if he's wearing gloves that have enough DNA of
Right.
somebody else's on them.
Right. Or, you know, maybe he's carrying somebody's shirt. Who the hell knows?
Who knows?
Right. But there's something more to it.
There is.
Why? I mean, why the multi trash can disposal that he drove all over Broomfield and Denver disposing of stuff?
Right.
And that makes me think. Everyone says, "Oh, it's probably, you know, she was probably hit with a tranq dart and then asphyxiated." You know, allegedly. And what I say to that is, why such cleanup? They said the hotel room and that house reeked of bleach and all this stuff, and all these sheets being thrown away. Like, there's so much cleanup. It makes me think that there was a mess. You know, like why so much cleanup? You know, if there wasn't a mess.
But
so that's why I think,
you know, about bleach isn't actually going to get rid of a DNA profile in a house, and it's not going to fool luminol, right? So if somebody did use bleach, it's not really going to work, right? So they're still going to find traces. They're still going to find evidence in a mess somewhere, or evidence of a mess, even if you can't see it with the naked eye. That's my understanding. It could be wrong in some way, shape, or form, but as far as I know, like that's how that goes. Now, I'll just tell you, I'm of the theory that he probably did something at the house that wasn't exactly life-ending. And then when she got to where her final resting place was, that's where...
Meaning he may have knocked her out, took her to Moffett, then shot her in the field, you're thinking, right, Naomi? Like
exactly. Yeah, I didn't want to describe it.
I know, but,
yeah.
But, you know, just to talk it out, it makes so much sense if that's how he did it. How do you imagine this happening, William? What is your theory? Do you have one?
Yes, I do, actually. I think, well, you know, when he was noticed by Tyson or whoever the guy was that saw him driving, I think initially she was put down in that waterway down there. And that's why Barry was seen freezing, driving back by. And I think in haste, he went back down there, and as gruesome as it is, took her over to Moffett, hastily dug a shallow grave, because you can imagine how gnarly the scene. I mean, like, to be able to do that, you have to be a true demon, a true monster to have to just to even handle that or be around that, you know. And I think that explains why it's such a hastily shallow dug grave right off the highway. True. I mean, and it makes sense that there's a sheet, because how are you going to carry, you know, that, you know, like, it's going to be, so like, that's why I think a sheet or something was used. Like, for instance, the Gilgo Beach killer, you know, every single one of his victims were wrapped in burlap or some sort of rug or, you know, and that conceals the body, for one. And I also want to talk about the 22 people who are like, oh, it's not that big of a caliber, yada, yada. Listen, the 22 caliber is the #1 gun of assassins. It's quiet, and they use it because the bullet, it enters and it bounces around on the body, and it doesn't make an exit wound. So it's not much cleanup, and it causes the most damage inside the body. It's quiet. And so it definitely is, you know, a lot of people have been murdered by a 22, but it's like the #1 gun. So, and this gun was kind of like it wasn't like a 38 special, like, you know, like a gangster or mafia gun. This was a cowboyish gun. This was like a long barreled revolver that a cowboy or a hunter would wear on his hip, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I'm just praying, y'all, that there's a couple of bullets left in that gun that we found.
Oh,
I mean, if that round next to the bed, that should be a direct, easy match the dots, you know, like connect the dots.
I know. So, I hope so too. Gosh, I hope so.
So, William, what was your spark to get into looking for missing people and cases and stuff?
So in 2011, I got on the Rico Fire Department and Rico Search and Rescue. It's a small mountain town with a very limited resources volunteer department. And I just wanted to say shout out to Colorado volunteer firefighters, search and rescue, paramedics, EMTs. It's a thankless job. You know, they're everyday people with families and jobs and lives. And on top of that, they volunteer to help save people's lives. And a lot of times these volunteer departments are up in mountain towns with highways and main routes of travel for tourists to go through. So there's, I mean, gnarly crashes, guys. I can't even talk about the stuff that I've seen and what everyday guys that volunteers have to see and deal with. I mean, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, for instance, let me tell you just real quick. So I was voted on the department in 2011, and I was a young greenhorn, and I was all about it, like ready to answer any call. I had a pager, and literally the first week in my very first call being a volunteer firefighter, I got a call that said burn victim at the gas station in Rico. So I'm like, burn victim, what's this? So I was 2 blocks away. So I just real quick, I hauled butt over there, and I get there, and there's a guy standing next to the gas pump, totally burnt, missing an arm. And what happened was he was a pyromaniac, and he had made these explosives, these balls, aluminum balls, and he was shooting them, and they were blowing up on the mountain, causing avalanches. And that's what he liked to do. It's kind of like a pyro thing.
Whoa.
Well, he pulled the slingshot back, and it blew up in his face, and it blew his arm clean off. I mean, it was missing.
Wow.
So when I pulled up to the gas station, there's a guy standing there, and it looked like something out of Vietnam. His, there's ligaments and stuff hanging out, and he was in shock. And I walked up, I'm like, sir, are you okay? And all he could say to me is, I screwed up. And it turns out he had a truck full of these explosives. They had to shut the highway down, and the highway was shut down overnight. It was like the biggest deal Rico's ever had was this guy that blew himself up. But he ended up going to federal prison over it, and it was like this crazy deal. But literally, that was the very first call I ever went on as a volunteer firefighter. Okay. So I just want to show y'all, like, their jobs are incredibly tough, and they see some incredibly gory things. And just go out and hug a Colorado volunteer firefighter, because this case right here is making Colorado firefighters look bad, and our volunteers of the state, which are a great group of people, and they're out there risking their lives every day. So I just want to say, go out and hug and tell a firefighter that you care about him, and don't let this guy in this case ruin it for all the good people out there. So I just wanted to throw that out. Sorry for rambling.
Well, no, that's a good point, because Barry was volunteer firefighter, wasn't he, Naomi?
Yeah.
He was. I don't know how long he had done it, but yeah, he was.
Well, I think, God, I'm trying to remember.
It's hard to remember.
I want to say he started doing it in like 2019.
Okay.
Right.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, part of the original story, and I don't know if this was just poor reporting from the news, but I
think it was, but yeah.
The official story was that he was away at a firefighter conference or some crazy thing, which was not true at all.
And there's a lot of people that say that Barry was saying that, but I don't necessarily think that he was saying that.
Okay.
At least not. Maybe he said that publicly or let that slip publicly or whatever, because he didn't want to say where he actually was.
Right.
But I don't think the police had any question where he was, because like on video, on the body cam video, he said clearly that he was up at a job in Broomfield.
Right.
Yeah, on Mother's Day, right?
Yeah.
But he cares about his wife so much, So.
Well, and on a Sunday where it's like against the city rules in the city of Broomfield to work. So.
Right. The city ordinance says that you cannot go to work on a Sunday. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
There's so much to it, right?
So how do you get your dogs trained? Because I'm particularly interested in doing that.
So I've been an elk hunting guide for about 10 years now. And what I used to do is take, when hunters, after we'd clean the elk and stuff, I would take pieces of the elk and let them get kind of decomposing. And then I would go way out in the woods, leave the dogs in the truck, and go way out in the woods and hide it in a tree and come back. And it was a competition between my 3 dogs on who could find. And they know when we're in the woods that we're looking for something. And they figured out that we're looking for anything that's kind of got that decomposing smell. And it got to be a competition where they would go out and see who could find it first, and
cool.
In the beginning, it was lucrative because these hunters, from these city boys would come up here, and I hate to talk about it, but they would wound these elk, and then they run off like a mile or 5 miles, and then they'd come in and need someone to track them. And that's kind of how I got my start, was tracking and finding people's elk for them. And then I was like, man, I could do this with human beings too. And then literally right after that is when we found my dogs alerted behind my old store in Rico, and we dug up some human remains behind behind the General Mercantile that me and my ex-wife used to own.
Wow.
So that projected me right into this, like it's meant to be.
But that was like bones, right? Like actual skeletal remains, it wasn't like decomposing flesh. See, that's it. So my kind of spark into this was looking into So my cousin was actually like the first school kidnapping in the state of Oregon in 1978. Wow. And she survived, but there was 2 other girls who didn't. And one of the girls is still missing. So 45 years later, and I kind of have like some spots that I want to go check, but I don't, really? I don't have a dog. That's strange dudes. So I mean, you have to come to Oregon. So
hey, we will travel anywhere to try to bring closure to families.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'd love, so her name is Ann Ellenwood, the Ellen Wood, the girl who's still missing. She's been missing since April of 1978.
Wow.
So, and she was kidnapped out of Corvallis, Oregon. I've been to the park. I'd love to go to the park with dogs, but the truth is that this guy had an MO, and I suspect that she's in a close by rural area, which was very much more rural at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I keep trying to figure out how I can go like search these rural areas.
That's what we specialize in. I like going to an area a couple years after the fact, because not to get too gruesome, but like the bone scatter and you know, the scatter of clothing, and there's a lot of evidence that'll be left over even back from the 70s, you know.
Right.
There still could be evidence on top of the ground.
Well, that was my thought. So kind of his MO was just to dump these girls off in a ditch or a ravine somewhere like trash and just drive off and leave them for dead. And that's what happened to my cousin. She just luckily survived. There just happened to be somebody driving by that heard her screaming, and she made it.
Thank
God. The grace of God. But yeah, so that was his MO. So my guess is that somewhere, you know, probably covered partially now because it's been 45 years, but she was just there somewhere and nobody's seen her yet.
Yeah.
Well, there's certain things like tennis shoes, like belt buckles, you know, there's certain things that never go away. Like with hunters disappear, there's always firearms, there's cell phones, glasses, sunglasses, there's stuff that just never 100% just disintegrates and goes away, while the bones this other evidence doesn't. So
right.
There's always a good chance that there's something sitting right out that someone's looked at and walked by, you know, for years and never thought anything about it. And really, it's a key piece of evidence. So that's when we go through the woods. We're so meticulous, and everything I find, every piece of trash, is very slowly analyzed and thought about, you know, and I video everything that we do so we can go back and rewatch the footage and say, if a light bulb goes off, we can go back and rewatch and say, oh, look, you know, like the bloody sheet, like, is that blood? And then, you know, have the collective hive mind, which is who I like to call my followers, and y'all too, and everybody is like, you know, we're together with this collective hive mind trying to assist and solve these cases together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I never got why these channels are hating on me. Like,
it's a territorial pissing match, buddy. It's a territorial pissing match.
It is.
There's very few men out here doing this, and that's really the bottom line. Is they all want to be the one, and
blame somebody or something. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that matters more. Unfortunately, that matters more to certain people than the actual resolution of the case, or like bringing people closure, right? And that's unfortunate. And if you're in that for those reasons, and you want to be the one, and you want to be Mr. Popular, you're here for the wrong reasons, and I don't support you.
Thank you, Naomi. Yes, 100% true.
And a lot of people a lot of these guys are from other countries, and to me, they're profiting and capitalizing off of like American death and murder. You know,
I've noticed that.
Yeah,
and I know who you're speaking about. Yes,
it's true.
They're like merchants of death. You know, like that's demonic work. That's, you know, so
it's it's horrible. I know.
Yeah,
you're right about that.
We won't get too much into it. I'm sorry about the
I definitely have opinions, and very strong opinions. So.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Well, I appreciate y'all so much.
Yeah,
well, absolutely. I was going to ask you real quick, how many different areas did it look like they had been digging at in the time span that you spent in that area?
So there was a lot of areas. There was, So 5 to 6 areas that I 100% know of, and then there was X's on the ground that, like you can see in that segment 2 video. There's people that had drawn big X's in the ground, like marking something, but there were several little shallow spots where people had dug with a shovel and then filled it back in, and it really looked like whoever had buried Suzanne, it was like done in haste and literally dug quick and thrown in and out of there, and that's why it was partially sticking up above the ground, and that's why everything was scattered so much. So it wasn't like one main grave area. It was it was just a big bone scatter, not to get too.
So do you think that's why the different dig sites were there, because they found something in those spots and then they dug down to make sure there was nothing more?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
I think the coyotes had gotten to it pretty bad, you know, and that's why I think we found the piece of the bed sheet that we found, because the coyote had pulled it up out and torn it off, you know.
Right, and it had the little teeth looking marks in there.
It did.
Yeah, it had those puncture holes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they weren't like, it wasn't big, like ripped apart, which would make sense for a coyote, right? Because the coyote isn't actually a large animal. It's relatively like a small to medium sized house dog, really, right?
Exactly.
So they would make sense, really.
Wow. Question for you, William. Did you observe any dig sites close to where you found the gun, or no?
You know, the area where we found the gun just seemed like it had never been even gotten close to the, you know, there was no tire marks or park. It was just like virgin ground everywhere.
Okay.
And that's why I'm not worried about the people hating about the pistol, because you can clearly see it was stuck down in that mud, and the undersheriff had to like literally dig at it to get it to pop up out of the ground.
Yeah.
So, and I think at one point it was underneath that bush, and that bush was alive. And, you know, and then by the grace of the creator, that bush died, and that firearm revealed itself.
That's what I thought when I saw it. I thought, wow.
So last night, so Lauren and I always talk over Facebook Messenger voice clips, right? And so, you know, I saw this post on YouTube and it really pissed me off. And so I'm like, her husband's got some massive military experience. So I'm like, Lauren, ask, you know, Steve what he thinks, right? And so I'm listening to them talk back and forth, and he's like, it is weird that bush was just like dead, like right there, right? And she's like, but it seems to me like it was like a God thing, like he just like killed the bush so you could find a gun.
Seriously.
Like seriously,
I think Suzanne was such an angel that her spirit was so pure, and she was such a good person that divine intervention is helping her out in this.
That gives me chills when you say that, because I 100% agree with that.
She was very much, though she had failed in the sense that she was having an active affair. Besides that, her heart was to Jesus. She absolutely.
Well, she made mistakes, right?
Right. She's human.
Well,
you know? She was human.
Look, every single one of us has made some pretty serious and drastic mistakes in our life.
Totally. Yeah.
And not only that, Lauren would understand this more, because Lauren's actually had cancer, and like the same kind of cancer as Suzanne, right? And survived it. But I think for me, if I was in such a turmoil in my life, the way that Suzanne was for so many years, and knew that I was in for the fight of my life again, and at the same time was still going to be stuck in this life where it was just the pits of hell, ultimately, right? And I'm not saying like every aspect of her life was horrible, but she had a rough marriage. She had a rough home life. And I don't blame her for wanting to find a little bit of happiness in case, you know, things didn't really work out.
I know.
Well, wasn't he cheat? He cheated on her first.
On her too.
You know, so like, she does it back to him, and that's the ego of a narcissist is he can do it to her, and then once she does it back to him, then he snaps and does something crazy. You know,
exactly.
You know, I could tell you a little bit about the affair he was having if you have a minute. He was having an affair. I don't know how long it lasted, but it was with a lady that tied back to a nursery back in Indiana. She ended up dying. The lady he was cheating with ended up dying in, I believe, November of 2020. So about 6 months after Suzanne disappeared. really odd timing. I don't know that her husband ever found out. I don't know that her kids ever found out, but there were multiple people who would see Barry and this lady together going into different public places together. It was kind of a well-known fact around there that he was involved with this lady.
And I don't think for 1 second that was the only affair he had.
No.
So I know certain things that tell me that he was at least very knowledgeable of a certain girlfriend back when Suzanne was still alive and undergoing cancer treatments. Yeah. So, you know, definitely. I don't know. Like, I don't want to go like naming a whole bunch of names right now, but like everybody knows who this person is. So.
Right. I'm sure, William, you probably heard about a person he was involved with more recently, or no? Or have you followed it much?
Yes. Yeah, okay. I did hear about that. Yeah.
Okay, good. I figured you had, but I wasn't sure. You know, the gun that was found, it being an Italian-made, like probably pretty fine quality 22. I don't know what it is, but it sounds to me like something a hunter of Barry's type would have, because we used to live next door. We have some really good friends, and he was a hunter. Every year was hunting, and he was a lot like Barry in the sense that a little more upper middle class, and he collected foreign guns too. And I don't know what it was, but as soon as I heard that this is like an Italian-made 22, I thought of the same person, not like Barry, this guy Mac that I know. And I just could see Barry owning a gun like this. I don't know what it is, and it might not be his, but I just could see it. I don't know.
I mean, it's clearly a gun that a hunter would wear on his hip, like on an elk hunt, you know, just for like protection on a horse. You know, like every hunter carries like a sidearm to finish off animals or for bear attacks. You know, something real quick and light that you can just pull real quick. And that's what made the bells go off in my head when I saw that type of revolver. Now, if it was like a 38 special or something, you know, I would say, oh no, but just the type, like you said, it would be the type of a gun that a hunter would carry. And it's just like,
I think so. So there is great benefit. Let's say he did use a 22. Let's say he targeted her even while she was sleeping, perhaps. I've heard that a 22 is not as loud as a regular gun, that it could sound more like a door slamming than a gunshot. And like you were saying, it would ricochet kind of inside the head or the body and wreak a lot of havoc.
And a revolver, you know, it has the shells that they don't eject out. So revolver, you know, they like that because they can keep the shell and then dispose of it. You know, it doesn't, you know, leave evidence.
Okay.
Right. So when you shoot a normal handgun, your casing comes out.
And your casing comes out.
Right. So,
but with this,
that's why I'm hoping that empty shell case still could be in that revolver. You know, like what if, you know, and then.
I want to make it clear again, nobody is here saying that this gun definitely had anything to do with Suzanne or her disappearance or her death or anything. But there is a chance, right? And
exactly. I mean,
I also want to be clear again when I say that for those people who sit here and say that the law enforcement would never miss this type of evidence or anything. Number one, they didn't even search that far down the road. And number two, they miss evidence all the damn time. It's nothing against law enforcement. They're humans, you know, like it is what it is, but it happens all the time.
It does.
Oh, hey, buddy.
He's Nipsey.
Oh, hi, Nipsey.
Oh, so cute. How old is this pup?
She's 2. She's in training. She's my hard head in training. So she's the meat and potatoes, though.
That's good. She's cute.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No.
Absolutely. Now, I understand you have a daughter. Is that right?
Yes, I have a 10-year-old daughter. Yes, ma'am. The apple of my eye. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's who I gave this puppy to.
Oh,
how cute.
Yeah, so of course I get to take care of it, but it was worth it because for her reaction when I gave it to her. So
right.
I'm sure
she burst out in tears. So.
You seem like a really awesome person, and that's especially why I'm getting upset hearing people me, say you. It just
Yeah.
it bugs me when good people are attacked. It just does.
I don't know where it comes from. Like, what did I do to? I mean, I didn't ever do nothing to these folks.
You don't have to do anything. That's the thing. You're out here and you're doing this, and people are just going to look. So here's the thing about YouTube and true crime community. I was telling this to Lauren last night. I was kind of going off. Well, I was really going off actually, but
Yeah.
we lose good people in this community, and we're stuck with a lot of trash because good people who come out and do good things get just totally trashed and shit on, for lack of a better term. Sorry, Lauren, but
you're right. You're right.
Until they just decide to absolve themselves into the background and go away, right? So then we lose really great people who are out here doing things for the right reasons and not using people and not lying and not manipulating and not looking at missing people as a cash cow or a means to an end or a way to gain popularity and clicks and views and grow their channel, right? And of course, you want to grow your channel and get those clicks and get those views, and you should, right? But the good people don't really remain in here. Like I myself have just recently come back out into the public, right? I went away. I had a lot of personal stuff going on too, but I also had a lot of very scary experiences and very scary things happen to me by very bad people in this community. I kind of had to fight my own demons to come back and say, look, I'm not the person who's ever been scared away by idiots. And why am I allowing this to happen?
A lot of it too is these keyboard cowards. You know, they get behind the keyboard and they get a sense of power. You know, but if I was standing in front of them, they would never say that to me.
No.
And that's what I challenge any of these guys hating on me. Just drop me a pin and let me know where you're at, and we can come. We can have a face-to-face talk if you want to. So that goes for anyone out there.
If people understand what a humble, kind person you are, man, I think even then they would do what they're gonna do and talk their smack. Some people are just that miserable, unfortunately.
Serious,
I just felt like we had to talk to you. Like I thought you were a really interesting fella. Looking through your videos, I was like, man, I kind of really want to know more about this guy. I want to know his story. I just want to talk to him. Like, even if he's not willing to talk to us about his findings in this, or if he can't or whatever, I'd love to just talk to him and get to know him a little bit, because I think I truly get the feeling that you're a really good human, and
it takes a village. It takes a village to solve these cases too. So I mean, I am so grateful to have you guys and to meet you, and I look forward to working with everyone here in this community, you know, in the future, because you know, a collective hive mind is so strong. We're a strong voice here on YouTube, and law enforcement knows it, you know, and law enforcement's in a competition. We're not, you know, we're just here gathering the evidence and the facts and coming to, you know, hypothesis and stuff, and it really does help and solve cases and crimes, and hopefully
it really does.
This is proof in the pudding, if God willing, you know.
It really does, and I wish that law enforcement would actually understand that a little bit more, right? We're not law enforcement. We're not FBI. We're not the sheriff. We're not CBI or TBI or whoever, right? And it's not like everybody's going to talk to us, but we're just normal street people, right? We're not. We don't have the authority to cuff somebody up or throw them in jail or put them in prison or anything like that. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, for me, like, I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm trying to find somebody who's missing and bring closure to their family. That's what I'm trying to do. That's my end game. Everything else beyond that is not my responsibility, right? Yeah.
Well, it's like the Gabby Petito case. The guy, the couple in the van that saw. I mean, that's what solved the Gabby Petito case. Was those van life people.
100%. Red, white, and platoon is their name.
Yep. Yeah, good people.
Right,
good
very
people.
good people.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Without people just paying attention, these will not get solved as fast. because the cops don't have the time, in my opinion.
They don't have the time. They don't have the resources. They don't have the energy. And they oftentimes have too much ego behind it.
Oh,
and
I agree. I so agree. Yeah.
Ego is the killer of everything, I'm telling you.
Uh-huh.
So,
yeah, egos.
William, real quick, where were you born and raised? I got that question.
So I was born and raised in Alabama, sweet home Alabama, and Florida. So, yeah, from the swamps of Florida and the backwoods of Alabama. So my dad died when I was young, real young, and in a tragic accident. And I wanted to follow in his footsteps, and he actually worked for the Park Service here in Colorado. And so I wanted to kind of see what he saw, and ended up staying here. And I've been here for a long time and love Southwest Colorado. So
that is awesome.
That is.
I mean, not like your dad, but
no. Yeah.
I always love to hear people's stories and like what fuels their fire, right? Because everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story.
Papa was a Rolling Stone, you know. You know the Allman Brothers lyric, I was born in the backseat of a Greyhound bus. I mean, that was literally how I was born, but in Birmingham, Alabama. So
wow,
that's amazing.
Birmingham, nonetheless.
Yeah, for real. But I love it out here. I like to go home and visit, but I can't get back to Colorado quick enough. So
yeah, I've always like Colorado was gorgeous, but I had not a great time when I was there looking for Suzanne, and I'd be hard pressed to go back to Colorado. So
yeah, there's a lot of darkness here, man. I've kind of lost faith in humanity lately, so that's why I
never lose faith in humanity. Never lose faith.
Okay. Thank you. This is why I need y'all's voices. You know, I get down in the dumps sometime and think, what is all this for? This isn't worth it. You know, I'm wasting my time, yada, yada. But, you know, like after this and Sweetie PieLo's beautiful fans and wonderful community, it's just, you know, been fueling the gas tank. I'm going to start a search actually this week coming if I can get this car running. So you seem to me like a guy who will understand what I say when I say always live with intention.
Yeah.
Always. So those days that I'm down in the dumps and I'm just like, man, this freaking sucks. People suck. Like the world is just shitty. That's when I go park my ass by a river and watch the water flow for an hour or like go to the beach or like whatever. So, I mean, and that's what recenters my brain and says, nah, we're going to let it flow. We're going to let people do what they do. I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to live with intention.
True. So true. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today.
Yeah.
I gotta get my
I feel like we could do a whole nother hour. This has been great.
Thank you. Let's do it, but let's do it live with an actual audience so we can do viewer questions.
Yeah. If you would come back with us again soon and then you could answer people's questions.
Yeah.
It would be great.
I love it. I think it's great.
Your channel a lot too. Adding the subsubscribers for you.
I think it's going to be good for people to actually get to know you and kind of see this, right? And see this side that we're kind of being able to see. And I hope we all get to know you a whole lot better and we see a whole lot more of you because I think you're pretty rad. So
that's so heartwarming. Bless you all. Thank you.
I love good people, you know.
Yeah.
I like that in you.
Well, you know, you reap what you sow, and karma is real. And
that's right.
And everyone should take that and write it down. Karma is real, and you reap what you sow.
That's right.
That's going out to one specific person. If you're watching, you know who I'm talking about. You reap what you sow, buddy, and it's coming to get you. So
good to see all of you.
Thank you, Miss Sweetie Pie. You are an angel. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, you are, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you, Naomi, for your intellect and what you do. Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, great.
Well, good to see you.
Great meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, great to meet you guys. Till next time.
Okay.
All right.